ladies and gentlemen. I'm John Main, Chairman of the Clinton Planning and Zoning Commission. The time is 7:32. I'm calling. And I call this regular meeting to order. We have a quorum. The meeting is now in session. Would the clerk please call the roll?
John Main.
Here.
Lisa McDonald. Here. Cynthia Watts.
Here.
Anselmo Delia.
Here.
Pamela Fritz.
Here.
Timothy Guerra.
Here.
Dennis Armstrong.
Here.
Alan Kravitz.
Here.
Michael Rossi.
Here.
Christine Goupil.
Here.
Philip Sengel.
Here.
Mark Rapuano.
Here. That brings us to item 4, SP 11-242, 186 East Main Street, John D. Watts, modification of SP 09-123 to address 4 issues of denial. Map 68, Block 65, Lot 55A, Zone, Village Zone. This is eligible for a decision this evening. I believe we had a new site plan that arrived, or no?
Should be that in his hand.
That in your hand. If there were any reason that we wanted to review the site plan and make our decision in December, that's option tonight. It was allowed by the applicant, I believe.
I would like to have a presentation first.
Understood.
Okay.
I will allow the applicant to give their presentation. Why don't we go ahead and begin with that?
Thank you, Mr.
I don't
Chair.
believe we have new correspondence, right? We're all set?
Just a letter from Wade that I emailed everybody earlier today.
Okay.
If anybody has any questions, I can do my best to answer them.
Open the floor to questions of the commission. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a couple of questions. It's my understanding that both the police access driveway and the curb cut on Route 1 further east are both exit and entry points, correct?
Yes.
With respect to the police access driveway, you are proposing some signage. Is that signage on the ground, or is it separate signs at the entry point and exit point, preventing traffic to turn left onto the police driveway?
Right. I believe the new plans that were handed out this evening should show that there is a sign in this location for vehicles that are exiting the office parking lot. The sign is not only a stop sign, but it also indicates to vehicles to make right-hand turns only. There is also a sign located on the police driveway itself that indicates that police use is the only use that should be using any portion of the driveway beyond the office entrance exit drive.
So that I understand, there is no restrictor peninsula, curb island, or anything of that kind directing the flow right as opposed to mere signage?
Since you're the site design, this is Brian did the site design. We were requested back in 2009 by the police department to include a narrowing of the access road to allow for a 15-foot strip between the narrowing at the narrowest point to encourage traffic from this site, along with signage and directional arrows, etc., to make a right-hand turn onto the access track.
So you have incorporated that aspect?
That's been part of our site plan going back to 2009, and the plan, and this hopefully it's clear that what we're proposing to do is to really narrow down the width of that road.
To discourage turning left?
Right, and that's something that was discussed with the police department back in 2009, and that was something that they wished to be added to the plan.
Okay, now with respect to the Route 1 and easternmost curb cut, that allows for left-hand turn onto Route 1, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Thank you.
Further questions?
Yeah, I have I guess it's a concern in that the police driveway, it's less a concern with ingress and more of a concern with egress. It's an emergency access for the police, actually an emergency egress for the police, primarily if they're heading east. At peak hours, and given the traffic that's along Route 1, the people exiting from the facility onto the police access road could tie up the ability, could hamper the ability of the police to exit in an emergency situation. That concerns me. I'm also, numbers notwithstanding, very much concerned of the point that Anselmo made regarding particularly left turns into Route 1 and off of Route 1 at the access driveway. I'm just familiar with what goes on along there, and people, accelerated movements to make the lights, rapid turns off of Beach Park Road. I'm very much concerned about those left turns. And also the potential for a left turn coming out of the police access road.
That is DOT's concern, isn't it,
Right,
Tom?
it's DOT's
We have no
jurisdiction. We
jurisdiction
have no
whatsoever
jurisdiction over the
concerning
use.
Route 1 traffic, signaling, or curb cuts whatsoever, and is not to be taken into consideration for this application. We are only here to consider traffic flow into and out of the site on the roadways we have legal jurisdiction over.
I don't think that's quite correct.
That's what our CEO is informing us, and so is
That
legal
is correct.
counsel.
We do not have jurisdiction over the state right away.
But we have to approve.
We have to approve the site plan.
We have to approve
They
the
already
site plan.
approved, based on this plan, a curb cut that allows two-way traffic.
That was my question. Has it been approved, that
They
curb
approve
cut, or
it.
is
We
this
approve
still?
it. You just go and fill out their paperwork. They have a permit to construct it.
Just to be advised for the rest of the commission, that is the law. And they have approval from the state DOT. But we are here to simply approve the site plan and be concerned with traffic flow in and out of the site itself, not on the Route 1. Any further questions?
Yeah, I have one.
Please.
The egress coming out of the police access road onto Route 1, that's only a right-hand turn?
It is right turn or left turn.
So there's a right turn and left turn from both,
From this driveway,
no, the other driveway.
from this driveway, a person is allowed to make a right or a left turn.
Yep.
From this
Right.
location, someone can make a right turn or a left turn as they can today.
As who can? Pardon me.
As anyone.
Nobody can. Only the police
Coming
can.
from the police or this portion of the.
No, anybody leaving from that driveway has the right to make a left or right-hand turn. That was the ask.
But the driveway is restricted. The entrance to the driveway is restricted to police use.
Up to this point,
On the site plan, yes.
there's access and egress provided for this building today. The parking area terminates somewhere in this location, and access and egress is provided through this area right here.
And if I may add to that, the DOT use this driveway, the police station driveway, as a public driveway to a public building, not as an emergency access.
This is also true.
Even though it's signed, I wonder what happens to local control. I mean, that's the issue that I see here, because the intent of that was police use only. Okay? And the only turning movements off it at the present time, well, not at the present time, but under the original intent was police.
Just a moment, please. Just a moment,
The
Alan.
original intent when they proposed this project to us was to have a secondary exit out of their building in case they could not exit out the other way. You know, it wasn't like a strict total emergency, bypass thing to go one way or the other. It was the case the other one got tied up, they wanted a secondary way to get out. That's the way it was proposed there. Wetland Commission into the Planning and Zoning Commission at the time. Yeah. And it has escalated into something that it wasn't at the moment.
Well,
They're proposed to us.
my concern, again, I mean, I'm sitting here looking at a letter from, our police commissioners saying that they recommend, they are strongly opposed
And so we're supposed to sit here and approve something that our police commissioners are strongly opposed to for the safety?
Unfortunately,
don't we have
unfortunately,
the
we have
ability
to
to-
abide by the regulations
Well,
of the
in other
town.
words, as a planning and zoning board, we can't be concerned about health and safety of citizens?
We most certainly can, but if it meets
On-
if
on
the
the
site
property.
plan meets our regulations, there's no legal grounds to not approve the site plan, which is why we're in litigation, which everybody's aware of.
It's also
So
why,
we've invited the applicant to return to it, to meet the concerns required to either approve or disapprove this application based on why it was disapproved the first time. Specifically stated so.
Well, then can I ask the
for reasons.
applicant why they weren't, I'm sure they've seen this letter,
The applicant has to provide the.
why they chose to ignore it?
That letter is a recommendation from the commission, from the police commission,
No, there's one from the police chief also.
the chief, but that has nothing to do with the site plan application.
Well, I'm concerned about our 4 points for denial.
Before we
First time around.
continue in any further discussions, I'd like to wrap up any questions for the applicant first. Do we have a direct question concerning the site plan for the applicant? Anybody?
Yes, I'm
Please.
particularly concerned with item number 4 on the list that you read. One of the items for denial, first time denial, and that is the application does not comply with section 8.2.1A, driveway access, the proposed access shown on the site plan shall meet the requirements of the construction standards, and vehicular access to the lot shall be made in such a manner as to safeguard against hazards to traffic and pedestrians in the street and on the lot. So I'm assuming hazards generated on the lot, meaning traffic flow out or in, with respect to the use of that police driveway. And I'm wondering, how do you feel this modified plan has addressed that point number 4?
what this plan, there were concerns raised by the police commission and the chief. There were 4 points of denial about access and egress using this driveway over here. That's where we traffic engineers came forth and revised the original traffic study to try to indicate any kind of safety impacts that were in the area. We do not want an unsafe condition. Our traffic study has gone through, we've collected the data, and we have performed our calculations and observed the conditions.
I'm going to interrupt you for a
And
second.
we have concluded that it is not going to create.
My concern
Adverse
is
conditions.
on that driveway, not necessarily Route 1 and the flow of traffic on Route 1. On that driveway, there's a police car coming out on an emergency call, and there's a car coming out of your site, turning right.
From here,
Right.
turning right.
Turning right, and there's a squad car coming out of that same driveway, heading out on an emergency call, let's say.
Yes.
How is that hazard addressed by this plan, this modified plan?
By law, the motorist leaving the site has to yield to an emergency vehicle with lights and sirens.
Like they would on
Like they would on any
street.
right away. Yep.
So if that was a concern of the commission at the time of denial, you're addressing it, how are you addressing that concern tonight or now? By simply having signage saying turn right only?
We are discouraging people from entering into the area closer to the police department.
That's turning left.
Correct. We are providing safe egress for persons exiting this site to get out to Route 1 at that location.
And that safe egress would mean that there is a stop sign there.
There is a
Where
stop
you are
sign.
required to stop,
Yes,
observe oncoming traffic, as in any intersection, as I understand it.
yes.
And if you saw a police car with its lights on or a siren going and leaving that driveway, you would probably abide by the law.
As you should on any town road.
As somebody would on Route 1, presumably.
Just a quick clarification, and because I don't remember this from the previous version, but but the egress on the south side of this, that's now phase one, and in the previous one, was that phase two?
That's correct. In the initial plan that was denied by this commission, phase one terminated in this vicinity over in here. I'm sorry if you can't see. And one of the modifications made to the site plan was based on comments from staff and added the remaining portion of the driveway without the parking spaces themselves to become part of phase one.
Okay, so that is phase one now. Okay.
Right, that's part of the plan.
So to be completely different from the original application is the sense that that parking lot will have access into and out of the site on two separate locations rather than the original plan, which would have had a phase one with only one ingress-egress point through that driveway. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct. Yes.
I have a question for the area. There's a, sorry, point it out. Explain it. You have cars coming in the site location from here. You have cars backing out. Is there any concern in this area that you're going to back up traffic onto Route 1 because you have cars backing in, backing out, that type of situation? I mean, has that been considered in terms of maybe limiting the number of parking spaces in this area?
Sure. As shown in this graphic, which is to scale, you will have enough room for one, possibly two vehicles to queue in this area that are coming in if there is some kind of a conflict in this area. With the amount of traffic we're anticipating entering and exiting this driveway, it's highly unlikely that there will be a conflict that would require vehicles to queue back out into Route 1.
Is that because you have an anticipated number of people at certain times? Is that because of the use of the building, or?
Yes, the anticipated times. We can approximate how many vehicles are coming in and exiting at different times throughout the day.
Phil, if you would like to go, please. I'm sorry to
I have one thing to add to that as well. We placed the parking in accordance with the zoning regulations. There's minimum requirements or separation from property lines to parking spaces, and we've got that with the parking lot design.
Yeah, what happened to the original driveway that was there for the small original building? There's another driveway there, correct?
The driveway for the small building is in the location where we're showing the plans here.
There was no driveway out onto Route 1?
No.
Okay, one more question, and I know the answer. I'm going to ask it anyway. The applicant has no intention, it's a double negative, has no intention of not using the police driveway for access to this property.
The applicant has rights of egress and ingress over the driveway. It's his intention to use that based on what is his right to do.
Well, theoretically, if I may, if he has access through the second driveway that is now part of phase one, both ingress and egress, there's nothing to prevent him, should he wish to, from abandoning his easement, or whatever you want to call it, to the police driveway, correct? Since he now has this incorporated into
that
phase
really
one.
doesn't have anything to do with the application before.
Well,
It's to say some
I asked
future question of
hypothetically.
what the
Yes.
applicant, just a moment, you don't need to answer that, I'm asking you not to. Now listen to me very carefully. That potential applicant might do has nothing to do, the applicant isn't even here. This person doesn't even have legal representation for the applicant other than what he's doing for us for the site plan that I know of. I can't verify that he has the right to answer for the applicant for a future potential change to this driveway, and it's really not relevant.
Well, it's not a future potential change.
I'm
This is
saying
only
it's not
phase
relevant,
one.
and I'm not allowing the question, period. This is crazy. That's a crazy question to ask
That's a
because it has
question.
nothing to do with the application before us, and I'm not allowing it. Any real bona fide questions, any more bona fide questions about the site plan or traffic flow to and from the site, other than potential beliefs of what the applicant might feel like from these strangers? Anybody?
They're not strangers, they're his engineers.
I'm not here to argue with you, Mr. Anselmo
Well,
D'Elia. I would like to
you
move
are
on.
arguing,
Any
Mr.
other
Chairman.
further questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Please, Alan.
Has the applicant considered changing the pavement in the driveway at the sidewalk? It's becoming convention to change the pavement so that what is it's bituminous, I assume?
That's correct.
So that you clearly delineate the fact that there's a sidewalk. I'm not so much concerned about the traffic, I'm concerned about the pedestrians. And frequently there is a change in pavement on the driveway at the sidewalk, so that it clarifies to the people turning in and out, because they're going to be in a big hurry to get on and off Route 1. That is pedestrian.
We can assure you that the client will develop that portion of his property in accordance with the DOT standards.
Well, I know,
It's
I'm
under
not
DOT
I'm
jurisdiction.
saying anything about the DOT standards. I'm talking about what I think is an appropriate delineation of the fact that a driveway is crossing the sidewalk.
Again,
I'm a little confused as to where you're referring.
At the proposed curb cut.
To Route 1?
Onto Route 1, yeah,
The-
that's the curb cut.
Here, and
That
right,
curve
currently
cut.
there's a sidewalk that runs that whole way. And what he's concerned about is that when people are pulling in, and correct me if I'm misrepresenting you, when people are pulling in and out, that any pedestrians walking along here, you know, that there's an understanding from both the drivers coming in and out and the pedestrians that, you know, this is a road that cars are coming in and out of.
In other words, continue the concrete across the driveway.
Well, something, do something to delineate the fact that that is a continuation of the pedestrian walkway.
Do we-
It's a
Do we
safety.
require, that isn't even under...
It's not required.
It's not required, it's not under our jurisdiction. I understand what Alan's trying to say. If it's actually in the state's jurisdiction, what can be done out there, they would, you could propose something to them, but they got the final say.
The
But
state
they
has the
have been
final say,
amenable
right?
to like installing like paintings, for the crosswalk. They've
Yeah.
done that, and, I know they've approved those. As far as other pavement types in their jurisdiction, sometimes they don't allow it.
There are a lot of driveways in and out, onto and off of Route 1, up and down
There's
Route 1.
no set criteria yet.
And has this board required that in previous applications?
No.
And one point, if I may. The DOT had one of their comments specifically was in regards to the pavement section and depth that they wanted for portions of the driveway that are located within the right of way. And that included a certain depth of bituminous concrete, and we complied with their requirements, and they approved our site plan.
This is on the right, where's the right of way line? Do we know where it is?
About 10 feet behind the stop car.
It's this the thick black line right here is the right of way.
So their right of way actually extends that far.
It's quite wide in that area.
Okay, very well. Hearing no more questions, we have everything we need for this application, right? We've seen our site plan. I've reviewed it to my satisfaction this evening. I know it met all the requirements that we were asking for through it,
I double checked the review notes.
and it does meet everything, right? Seeing that this application appears to have met the requirements we've asked for, I entertain a motion to approve.
I move to approve SP 11-242, 186 East Main Street, John D. Watts, with the modifications of site plan 09-123 to address the 4 issues of denial.
We have a second?
Second.
Okay, I'd like to continue the discussion briefly.
Yes, it says that the fourth condition was the application does not comply with our section 8.2.1. And it goes on, and the important part is vehicular access to the lot must be made in such a manner as to safeguard against hazards to traffic and pedestrians in the street, on the lot, and to avoid traffic congestion. I do not believe I don't see how you can say that it is made, that it complies with the safeguards against hazards utilizing the police driveway. I do not see that has been met. And before, you said that they've met all our requirements. I'm sorry, they have not met number 4.
I quite frankly disagree wholeheartedly. The actual traffic study flow says it does. I have a difference of opinion. I'm sorry, I'm not a traffic engineer, but the engineers that studied it said that, I said I'm not a traffic engineer, which I am not, for the record. And according to the traffic engineer, it's shown that it has safe ingress and egress to the site and it's met DOT approval, Department of State, Department of Transportation for the state. So I believe that the people that designed the roadways have said it would be safe, and that's my opinion as a commissioner, and I don't understand how anybody would beg to differ with that, since these people designed these roadways, and they've actually made it very clear that on their site plan that they're narrowing access ways, signage, and markings in the roadway even, and I believe they've made it quite safe. Considering normal traffic flow with any emergency vehicle, perfectly safe, as a matter of fact.
I think in addition to the...
But that is, again, my opinion, Pam. I respect your position.
Can I speak?
Please, go ahead.
You know, in addition to the traffic study by a traffic expert that we have before us, we also have historical evidence, I believe. I am not a long-standing primary resident of this town. I've only been here since 2007. Tom, you've been employed here by the town for quite a while, correct?
Correct.
And so prior to the police moving to their current location, they occupied a building right over here which shared access with this whole town hall, which it seems, and again, in my opinion, gets a lot more traffic than what this building would get. And I'm just wondering if you have any recollection of there being, you know, widespread chaos and accidents as a result of the police needing to, you know, come in and out in emergencies.
No, never had issues out there.
Please, Alan.
I'd like to offer an amendment to the motion. And that amendment is that subject to a restriction to left turns on and off of Route 1 at both the access points to the property.
Let him finish his amendment, please. Alan has the floor.
What I'm trying to do is to resolve at least the major problem I have with regard to the fourth objection. This was my fundamental reason for stating it. I'm really concerned with those left turns onto and off of Route 1 at both points. So the motion is to amend the main motion with regard to left turns, that signage be placed on the property prohibiting left turns off of Route 1 onto the property or off the property onto Route 1.
Okay, I still believe as a point of discussion, I still believe we don't have the right to ask the applicant to not make a left-hand turn on Route 1, that's governed by the Department of Transportation, the state of Connecticut. Am I wrong on that?
You're correct on that one.
Am I absolutely correct on that? All right. Now, if were it within our jurisdiction, then yeah, I would say that would be an interesting concept. We could all make right-hand turns only out of the entire Route 1 traffic way for all future applications in the town, which would also set a precedent for such a case, that nobody should be making left turns and we should all have right turns. But I think that's a little bit far-fetched, and it's also out of our jurisdiction completely for this application.
I'm not sure.
I'm sorry, but both our legal counsel and our CEO,
Okay.
again, we can't dispute the fact
Okay,
that it is the law.
Okay, so vote down my motion.
No, there is no motion. You needed to
I made a motion.
ask somebody to make an amendment to
Well, that's what
the
I...
original motion.
I-
Mike, do you want to make an amendment?
I'm not,
Mike is not agreeing to amend his motion, so that point is now moot. Is there anybody else that has a discussion before we go to vote?
Make another motion that we would...
You would like to Mike to amend his motion? His motion's on the floor.
I would like Mike to amend his motion that I would like to see the legal opinion about that, because I read the state statute, and to my mind, it says, subject to local approval.
Local site plan approval, is that?
It doesn't,
correct?
I don't believe it says that.
I think our section 8.1.2, whatever it was, allows a commission to always have the last word on issues of safety. And if this is an issue of safety, I think it's still within the purview of the commission.
Within the site plan, we have the issue of safety. Is that not true for safe traffic flow within a site?
No.
Within the site, according to the regulations, according to our authority, that's what we have to maintain, that within the site, that it's designed safely.
Well, this is in the site, and in my opinion, it's not safe.
She's
I'm
showing
pointing
the
the part
police
in the
driveway.
site, the Joyce driveway, that's not safe. That is a safety issue right there.
I disagree entirely according to the traffic study as well. But that, you don't have to argue the point with me. It's a matter of discussion for the floor.
So I feel as a commission, we have the right to talk about that safety issue within the site.
What are you basing your concern of safety on? What evidence do you have?
8.
I have not voiced this objection previous to tonight, but you just spoke, Cindy, and I have to say once again, and I'm the only one that has always stood up for this, you have in my opinion, and again, I couch it under my opinion.
Is this about the site plan or the
No, this is
discussion about
the
approval?
participation of a member.
We're going to get to that, and I'd like you to hold off momentarily for that. I would like to have discussion about whether or not
She's already participated.
we are talking about this site plan or any problems other than traffic flow that we've discussed, or continuing that, or anything else. Anybody?
I was not a member at the time in '09. Was there a site area traffic study done at that point?
Yes.
By the commission or by?
No, it's always done by the applicant.
And in fact, I have both, and I've compared them, and other than now, we're dealing with a building of about 7,000 square feet, where before we were dealing with a building of or a complex of 9,000 square feet versus 7 presently. The traffic study is essentially the same. Would you agree? Did you review the old one? If I may ask the engineers? I don't see any
If you would like to
difference
answer
in
that, that's fine. If you want to say whether or not that was the same study or not.
Just to clarify, you're saying the building was
Just
smaller?
a moment. He asked a question. Let's let that get answered first, Christine.
All right. Again, for the record, Nick Michael, traffic engineer. The previous study was used as a foundation for developing the latest traffic study. That was it. New data was
You
collected.
misunderstand my question. Were the conclusions of the current traffic study any different than the conclusions of the first traffic study?
Yes.
How so?
With the current traffic study, we have been able to collect newer data. We have been able to observe what happens with the operating approximately 2,000 square feet of office space. So we do have a difference between the two studies.
In addition to the fact that the first study didn't include egress from a second, ingress and egress from the other entrance, because that would have been phase 2. That wasn't included necessarily in the first study, was it?
But you don't have that ingress and egress currently. do you?
No, this site plan is going to have that built.
I understand, but so
That's
it wouldn't
phase
impact
one.
traffic in any way. at
I'm
this
just
point.
stating that in phase one of the previous traffic study, there was no second entrance and exit at that time for phase one. That there may have been some difference between those studies in that regard.
Wait a second. We didn't approve it, we didn't approve a site plan for phase one.
No, I didn't say we did.
And what was built was done as a single-family residential structure.
I didn't say anything about that, Alan. My comment strictly was whether or not the first traffic study was the same as this traffic study, according to Mr. D'Elia's question. I didn't say anything about whether or not something was built, other than the previous traffic study may have regarded that it was a two-phase project. That's all.
There's nothing in it that suggests.
Christine, did you have anything else to add?
Oh, I just wanted Anselmo to just clarify his question. He did.
And he did. Excellent. Further questions? Okay, in regard to who's eligible to vote, I'd like to hear that first from Julia.
It's a site plan, there is no public hearing, so everybody is eligible.
Everybody's eligible. Okay. Basically, I'd like to ask if there are any commission members who may have direct or indirect interest in this matter in a personal or financial sense, and if so, please identify yourself for the record so I may conduct the proceedings on this matter with or without your participation, according to the fact that you may or may not decide to recuse yourself.
I'm related to John West, but other than that, I have no personal stake in it.
No financial stake?
Absolutely
Do you
not.
own anybody's properties?
No,
But you are related, your sister?
yes,
Very well. Duly noted, Cynthia Watts is the sister of John Watts. Did you choose to recuse yourself?
no.
If any, at this time, if any commission member believes that a commission member should disqualify themselves, please identify the commission member by name for the record.
Yes, I'd like to identify Cynthia Watts as a commission member who should recuse herself. I'd like to point out in our bylaws, it refers to, and I have this with me here, section 8-11, under the Office of Policy and Connecticut Office of Policy and Management, Intergovernmental Policy and Division. And it states, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'd be happy to give it to you if you'd like me just to read it.
This is from our bylaws?
This is from the state of Connecticut. It's also in our bylaws.
I believe she's referring to state statutes that
State
are also
statutes.
referred to in our bylaws.
In our bylaws,
Okay.
correct. No member of any zoning commission or board or no member of any zoning board of appeals shall participate in the hearing or decision of the board or commission of which he is a member upon any matter in which he is directly or indirectly interested in a personal or financial sense. And to that point, I would also feel, in my opinion, because we have before us a site plan that we are going to be approving. It's the original site plan. The original site plan involved Michael McDonald involved in this site plan. His name is on all of the paperwork with the site plan. Therefore, I feel that Lisa McDonald, regardless of the fact of whether he's involved at this time, should also be asked to recuse herself. And I'm asking the board to please vote on that particular thing. In fact, I'd be happy to put it forward in a motion if that's appropriate.
Actually, I don't believe we have the right to vote somebody, an elected official, off the commission, or a right to vote them out of their ability to choose to recuse themselves, and that was discussed with council, our council, previously, and I don't recall if you were there or not, but I can say that I'm sure that both Tom and Julia, who were there, can vouch for me on that. So is there anybody else Just a moment, please.
Mhm.
Is there any other member of the commission that would like to
Yes, there is.
describe someone who may be disqualified for the record?
Yes, I would like to.
Just a moment. Mr.
Yes,
Glenn?
I would challenge the ability of Cynthia Watts to sit, deliberate, comment, and vote on this application, given that she is the sister of the applicant. I can cite a case, Connecticut State case, Stanley versus New London Planning and Zoning Commission. It's a 1991 case cited at WL 172828, 6 CSCR 847, again 1991, where a member who was a personal friend of the applicant attended his wedding and reception, rented an apartment from the applicant's family, attended a reception at the applicant's home to welcome a new police chief, attended a grand opening of a business at the applicant's business before and after permit approval. In essence, a personal friend was disqualified, was deemed to have had a conflict. Given where a friend has been deemed to have a conflict under a state case, the fact that a member of this commission is actually related, a sister, to an applicant, I think it's clearly a conflict. It puts us as a board in jeopardy, regardless of what the decision is. That's my,
Just a moment, please.
that's my concern. I don't have the same concern about Lisa McDonald because frankly, I'm not certain whether there is or isn't any kind of financial situation at the present. But you know, I take her representation that she doesn't. My concern is, as I have stated.
Okay, anybody else? Same question, just a minute. Same question, anybody else? Please?
I move that I'd like to have Pam Fritz step down and recuse herself, as she is the president of the CTA, and made comment in the Clinton patch saying that she's looking for all this freedom of information, one of which was the property transfer between the town and John Watts, and her comment was the exchange of prime town property for private property of dubious value without professional appraisal of the value of either property, to me says that she has a direct or indirect personal stake in this outcome.
Just a minute, I didn't ask for a response. I'm sorry, but Cynthia had the floor. You had your opportunity previously. Please hold. You need to conduct the meeting in an orderly fashion, especially right now. I appreciate your respect in this matter. Are there any other commission members who would like to raise concerns about any other commission members for the record as far as whether or not they should recuse themselves for personal or financial matters on this application? Anybody else? Okay, hearing none. Concerning this application, we have no means to force the recusal of any elected commission member on this commission that I am aware of in any way. I have asked our attorney concerning previous applications and did not pursue the matter further, considering the fact that there was no legal means to do so. In that regard, for the interest of the commission members and the commission as a whole, at the time that we are going to make this decision concerning the motion on the floor to approve, I will poll all persons who vote on that decision as to whether or not their vote has been affected by the participation of Ms. Cynthia Watts, Lisa McDonald, or Pamela Fritz. And I am doing so in order that the record of this matter be as clear as possible for the decision the commission makes, and even if there has been what we might feel is illegal participation in that decision. That's how I'm going to proceed. I don't want to hear any more comments about it. We have a motion on the floor. I'd like to go directly to a vote.
John, we would just like to note that Christine, Bill, and Mark are not seated as they are alternates.
And they are not eligible for it.
Correct, as they are not seated.
As they are not seated. Okay. So who's eligible to vote? I mean, I want a show of hands for this to make sure we have everybody here, and not now, just, do you know everybody that's eligible to vote?
Yes.
All right. Now, the motion on the floor was to approve, and it was seconded.
Yes.
All in favor of this approval? Mike, Cynthia, Dennis, Lisa, Tim? Were any of you influenced in any way by the presence of Cynthia Watts, Lisa McDonald, or Pamela Fritz in your decision? You can communicatively answer yes or no.
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 Resounding no. All those against this application's approval? Mr. D'Elia, Pamela Fritz, any others? Were you in any way influenced adversely for the presence of Cynthia Watts, Lisa McDonald, or yourself, Pamela Fritz? Yes or no?
No.
For the record?
No.
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 Okay. Abstaining. Alan Kravitz abstains. I believe the motion carries. And that is all for that application. Thank you for your time this evening, gentlemen. I'm sorry it took so long. I'd like to take a 5-minute recess at 8:35.